Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we've got a first day of free agent recap. We're looking at all the players who signed in the Central Division and how the aspect of the Central Division has changed after they won a free agency. We'll get to all the updates from day one of free agency involving the Central coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the End-to-End Hockey channel. Now before we begin this video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this without all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. So in today's video, we're going to be doing the first of 4 parts of basically just recapping day one of free agency. We're going to be looking at every single signing that happened on day one, but I'm breaking it down into divisions. So I'm going to be looking at the Central Division today in this video, and there's going to be one coming out about the Metro, about the Atlantic, and about the Pacific. I'm looking at what each team did signing wise on day one of free agency, and there's going to be a couple after that talking about the trades. But we're going to focus on the signings here, and today we're going to look at the Central Division. So we'll start with the Chicago Blackhawks. It's quite simple there. They made no signings on July 1st, so a very quiet free agency day from the Blackhawks, as besides one minor trade. Didn't really make any moves, so I guess you could say it's a win for them because they didn't overpay for veterans like they did the past couple of seasons with guys like Bertuzzi and Foligno, Dickinson, and Teravainen. So I guess you could say it's a win for the Hawks, but I would like to see them do at least something on the free agent market. So very surprising, but day one, nothing for the Hawks. Day one for the Colorado Avalanche, they made 4 signings. One was a contract extension, so a deal that's not going to be kicking in until 26-27 season, but they have extended Parker Kelly, who's actually been a really solid 4th liner for the Avalanche last year, signed to a 4-year extension with AAV of $1.7 million. Kelly's found a home on the 4th line for the Colorado Avalanche and has worked really well, even like a penalty kill role, things like that. So a solid move there for the Avalanche as they extend Parker Kelly. And then they also get 3 AHL players on 1-year league minimum deals. That's TJ Tynan, Jack Khan, and Ronnie Attard. Attard split last year between Philly and Edmonton. He's a solid 7-8 defenseman, could be a call-up option, could be a spare defenseman. So for a cap-strapped team like the Avalanche, it's a really solid move. They get Jack Khan, who is more of an AHLer, but he's still a defenseman who could be a call-up option. So solid move there. And TJ Tynan was in the Avalanche organization a while ago, and he's mostly an AHL. He's got very few games of NHL action, so very interesting signs there. But the Avalanche extended Parker Kelly and then gave Tynan, Attard, and Khan all 1-year deals at $775 AAV. So very interesting note there. Dallas Stars are our next team. They did not do very much yesterday. They extended Colin Blackwell, who actually worked quite well as like a 4th liner, maybe 13th forward last year, helped them in the playoffs quite a bit. Gets a 2-year extension, league minimum. So for a 4th liner who plays quite well, getting him on league minimum for 2 years is a solid move there for the Stars. And they also bring back Faksa. Faksa, who was either not last year but the year prior in Dallas before he got traded to St. Louis. He had a whole bunch of his career spent in Dallas, and the Stars bring him back to be their 4th line center. A 3-year extension, $2 million. I'm not the greatest fan of Faksa, but $2 million for the next couple seasons for a solid 4th line center isn't a bad move there from Dallas. So while they would have liked to see him maybe do a couple more things, especially on that blue line, signing a few depth players like Faksa and Blackwell to really reasonable deals wasn't a bad thing there for Dallas. The next team is the Minnesota Wild. They made 3 signings yesterday. They signed Nico Sturm to a 2-year extension with AAV of $2 million, Ben Gleason to a 1-year extension with AAV of $800,000, and Tyler Pitlick to a 2-year extension, league minimum AAV, so $775,000. So Pitlick, I think, is quite simply put, he can play at the NHL level, can be a bottom 6 guy. Wouldn't be surprised if he started the season at the AHL level. I feel like he's going to sort of take the roles of guys like Devin Shore or Brendan Gaunce and be that solid call-up guy if they run into some injuries. They get Gleason, who I think is a depth AHL defenseman, could be a call-up option, but I think he's mostly going to spend most of his time at the AHL level. And they signed Nico Sturm, 2 years, same AAV as Faksa signed with Dallas, $2 million AAV. Not a bad deal there for the Wild. Sturm has connections to Minnesota. I'm pretty sure that is where Sturm started out his NHL career. So he's back in Minnesota. He'll be their 4th line center. So once again, I would like to see the Minnesota Wild do something, especially in their middle 6. But signing a solid 4th line center to a reasonable AAV and getting some depth players, not a bad day one of free agency there for the Wild. Then we saw Nashville Predators. They made 1 signing yesterday, and it was an interesting one. They signed Nick Perbix to a 2-year extension, AAV of $2.75 million. I quite like this deal. I feel like Perbix can be a solid third pair guy, but can also be a solid second pair guy. And I think after moving off of Jeremy Lauzon and moving off of a couple of their other younger defensemen in free agency, I do believe that adding a guy like Nick Perbix, who's on the younger side of things, not overly old, and only a 2-year contract that's under $3 million AAV, not a bad deal there for the Predators. So I was expecting the Predators to be a little bit more active, but I think the Perbix signing is great and a solid addition for that team, exactly what they sort of need. So a solid move there from Nashville. The Blues made 2 signings yesterday as they signed Nick Bjugstad to a 2-year extension with an AAV of $1.75 million, and Matt Luff to a 1-year contract with an AAV of $775,000. So Luff has some NHL experience, but is mostly an NHL guy who can be a call-up option, so some added forward depth there for St. Louis, which isn't ever bad, so a solid move there for the Blues. Well, they also get Nick Bjugstad. Bjugstad signed for 2 years at a $1.75 million AAV. So Bjugstad can be a center. He can also play on the wing, solid bottom 6 guy. He showed that over the past couple of years in Arizona and Utah and Edmonton. So I definitely like this signing here for St. Louis, under $2 million for a solid player who can play fourth line minutes and can also put up some pretty good point totals. So that's a pretty solid sign there for the Blues. They do get some solid forward help by adding Bjugstad and Luff. Then we saw the Utah Mammoth make 5 signings yesterday. The first one was Nate Schmidt. The second one was Brandon Tanev. They also signed Vanecek, Yamamoto, and Peronovich. Schmidt with 3 years at $3.5 million AAV. Tanev with 3 years at $2.5 million AAV. Vanecek was a 1-year, $1.5 million AAV deal. And then Yamamoto and Peronovich were both 1-year league minimum. So Yamamoto spent last year in Utah. He didn't get into very much NHL action, but was mostly AHL player. I would expect him to probably be the same this year. Probably an AHL guy. Could be a call-up option if they run into some injuries. Peronovich last year split time between St. Louis and the Islanders. He projected to be a couple of years back a solid top 4 defenseman. At this point, he's more of like a 6-7 defenseman. So I could definitely see him crack Utah's blue line. Wouldn't be surprised though if he started the season in the AHL and was a call-up option. So we should wait and see on that. The Utah Mammoth got their backup goaltender Vitek Vanecek. At this current point in time, Connor Ingram's still in the NHLPA Players Assistance Program, and there's no guarantee that he's going to start the season on the roster for Utah. So they need someone to back up Karel Vejmelka so he doesn't go on some sort of a long run again next year. So Vanecek can do that. He can be a solid backup at least until Ingram gets back. So a very solid move there from Utah to get their backup at least for the first few months of the season. They also get Brandon Tanev, 3-year deal, $2.5 million AAV, a very solid bottom 6 forward. He plays physical, he plays hard, he's a very good locker room presence. 3 years at just a $2.5 million AAV for a solid 3rd, 4th liner. Not an overly bad sign there from Utah. The only sign I think they made that was questionable was Nate Schmidt. Schmidt coming off of a league minimum deal with Florida where he helped them win the Stanley Cup. 3 years at $3.5 million for a 33-year-old 3rd pair right-shot defenseman. Not a great move in my opinion there for Utah. I think if they would have got him under $3 million, probably would have been a smart move, even though they had a 3-year term. But I definitely do think 3 years at $3.5 million is a little bit out there. But still, I do like the Schmidt addition as a 3rd pair right-shot defenseman for that Utah team. So if you're interested, note there, but 5 signings were made by Utah. And lastly here, going over to the Winnipeg Jets, they made 3 signings yesterday. They made a Tanev Pearson and Cole Koepke signings, both 1-year deals at $1 million. And they sent Phil DiGiuseppe to a 1-year deal at league minimum. So DiGiuseppe's been bouncing around between the NHL and AHL in Vancouver over the past couple of seasons. So he joins the Jets staff. I think he could be a solid bomb 6 guy, could be solid 13, 14 forward. Wouldn't be surprised if he did the same thing they did in Vancouver, which was start the AHL and be a call-up option. But still, really solid forward depth there from the Winnipeg Jets. And then they get Koepke and Pearson, both guys who spent solid minutes last year at the NHL level. Koepke in Boston, Pearson in Vegas. They can both play 4th line minutes. They can be healthy scratches if need be. At $1 million for what both those two bring, that ain't a bad deal for the Jets. So I thought the Jets maybe would have been a little bit more active, especially with them losing Ehlers potentially. But still, Pearson, Koepke, DiGiuseppe, all solid forward depth adds there for the Winnipeg Jets. So lots of very intriguing moves there from the Central Division. In my opinion, I do like what Utah did, even though the Schmidt deal was a little bit out there. I do like Nashville's signing of Nick Perbix. I do like Winnipeg adding some more forward help. Kelly extension I don't think was too bad for Colorado. So I definitely think a lot of these teams teams made some smart moves here. I don't think anyone really made an overly egregious signing besides maybe Nate Schmidt in Utah. So I think the Central Division is pretty good. I am a little bit surprised that none of these teams did a little bit more, like Winnipeg, Chicago, Dallas, Colorado. Like I was expecting a little bit more from some of these teams in the Central Division, but still, I don't think any of these teams did overly bad on day one. I definitely think Utah got a whole bunch better, while some of these guys filled in some depth roles. So very interesting note there. But that's my thoughts on the Central Division for day one of free agency. Stay tuned as the other three divisions are coming up soon. But that is all I'm going to talk about in this video, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on who you think were the winners and losers in the Central Division on day one of free agency. That's all I'm going to talk about for today. Remember to like this video, and for the like to subscribe below. Thank you for all of your support. I would never be able to do this with all of you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below. Don't forget to comment. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I also do a blog telling news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that. So check that out. I'll link to it down in the description below. Cannot wait to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.